Hi, my name is Scott Tipton, and this is the story of Ligeia's Cadence. I started the Ligeia's Cadence project back in 2007. The summer of that year, I moved from Norfolk, Virginia, near the Virginia Beach area, back to my hometown in Maryland, and went back to school, got my audio engineering certificates, and at that time I had a number of songs that I had started writing that were incomplete. And a few months after that, after my move, I purchased a Boss BR1180 digital recorder, and that was my first digital audio workstation. And that's what I used for trial and error recordings and to get just basic blueprint ideas of the songs that I had in my head down on into a recording process. And then eventually those songs were edited and stripped down to one song, which is actually the first track off of Birth the Flow of Rhythm, which is the first Ligeia's Cadence release. So that's basically how the project started, and during that time and for future months to come, all I did was write music, jot down ideas, riffs, writing drum beats and bass lines and synthesizer parts, and just building my own sound library and creating a project studio that was 100% Scott Tipton samples. I do use some third-party drum samples, and I actually have one sample library of vocals, but mostly like choral vocals, like large choir sounding, which I don't really use that much. But other than that, it's all me: guitar, bass, keyboards, all the programming, the editing, the mastering process, the packaging, all the online work, the transcoding, the downloading, all of that it's thank goodness I can do it all on my own time, in the comfort of my own home. It's taken me over 10 years to get to this point where I can have decent quality sounding productions out of a 2-bedroom condo here in Arlington, Virginia. My main instrument, I would say, would be guitar. Although I sang in a number of different bands since I was 16 years old, that's never really been my passion. I never really wanted to be a singer. I always wanted to play guitar, and doing so helped build my ear musically. But I picked up the guitar for the first time at the age of 8, I believe I was. And that same day, I figured out what a power chord was, and I knew that sound. I didn't know what to call it, but I knew that sound, and I knew I had heard it on the radio a number of times before, and that was it. I was hooked every single day since I had a guitar in my hand as much as possible. So to learn as much about the instrument as I possibly could. In 2003, I joined a band as a bass player, and my approach to playing bass was completely wrong because I had the mentality of a guitar player, especially a heavy rhythm guitar player. So I had to rethink that whole musical process and had to learn how to think as a bass player, how to lock in with a drummer, how to create bass lines based off of kick drum patterns, tom patterns, and so forth. When to play, when not to play. Musically, it was the most difficult thing I had ever done because I always thought in melody and in harmony as a guitar player, and now I had to think rhythmically and finding root notes in proper bass line pattern progressions and fingering technique on the bass. And after 3 months of putting down the pick, I never went back, and still to this day, it's by far my favorite instrument to play. The freedom of playing bass, locking in with a really good drummer, is one of the most enjoyable things I've experienced as a musician. The story of Ligeia it's actually rather simple, although if you look at all of the content online and obviously listen to the songs, it sounds huge and complicated. It's actually very simple. The concept behind Ligeia's Cadence, from the listener's perspective, is you can create the story as you go along. From one song to the next, you are the character. And that's the whole premise behind writing Ligeia's Cadence. I had writer's block for many years, and I had a lot of material written as far as music. Was constantly creating new song ideas and new riffs and drum patterns and all of these different things. And I didn't want to be a multi-instrumentalist. I actually wanted it to be a full project with vocals, background vocals, large synthesizers, huge drum kits, guitar solos, synthesizer solos. Everything that I loved about the 70s, 80s, rock and roll and progressive rock, early progressive rock, even into the modern progressive metal and new variations of that type of genre. So having a concept, having a character, and creating songs that basically paint an open canvas for the listener to create their own story. Immerse yourself into the song as the character is basically what Ligeia's Cadence is about.